Sports Tonight analyst Richard Oliver joining us in studio. Thanks very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Might know him from What's Brewing Sports, the podcast. We're going to get into the release of a new season coming up in just a little bit. But first, I want to get your thoughts on Astros. Hired Dusty Baker as skipper last week. Your initial thoughts on Dusty being the Astros' new manager?
I was hoping it'd be Dusty Baker or Buck Showalter, only for a couple of reasons. One is both of those guys, and Dusty in particular, been there, done that, has managed egos in the past. Bryce Harper, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa was there for the Steve Bartman deal in the Cubs, that year. He's been in these kind of contentious situations and has been able to handle those kind of things. I think that went into the hiring. So my initial thought was, great hire. This is a guy that they need. He's the right man for the right time for the Houston Astros, who needs somebody, number one, who's going to protect them and be the shield for them against the media onslaught that's going to happen. I think Dusty Baker will take those arrows. And, the really interesting part about it is when you talk about a manager now for the Houston Astros, this is still a very talented team. I mean, these guys can flat hit the ball, whatever you say about them. They can hit the ball, they're fielding, they're pitching, everything. This is a team that's positioned to contend again for a championship. They needed to hire a manager, not so much to manage the team, but to manage the situation. Yeah. And I think Dusty Baker's that guy.
Do you pay any credence to the criticism that was out there about his history with wearing out his pitchers' arms?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
any criticism of that?
That's a really good, it's a pretty interesting discussion because, the Astros, but they're keeping Brent Strom, theoretically, the pitching coach who everyone respects so much. Nobody's accused them of cheating that we know of.
Right.
But he is such a great wizard with the pitchers that I think maybe having that balance there and a guy who has had success managing that pitching staff, maybe Dusty Baker is a guy who says, you know what, make that happen. When you have Justin Verlander, you still have guys, Zach Greinke, guys who can eat innings and love to do that at this stage of their careers. So maybe it won't be that big a factor with those kind of things in place.
Interesting, because I think a lot of folks are saying, you go veteran, you go someone who's kind of been in tough situations before, and like to your point, it's someone who's perfect given the circumstance, or do you go super young, or do you go super nostalgic and super organizational? I heard Biggio and Bagwell's names kind of bantied about as in terms of possible guys.
Mm-hmm. Even Brad Ausmus and guys.
Brad Ausmus, another one, yeah.
Old Astros, Larry Durker's still around. Isn't he? He's pretty good, Right. But again, I think they needed an outsider. I don't think they needed the Astro to come in and take over the Astros. I think Jim Crane, in his mind, pretty good businessman, has done pretty well in his business life, said, you know what, as far as a CEO of what I need to be having on the field, I need to bring in a guy from the outside who's got the chops to be able to handle whatever situation is thrown at him. That's the guy, Dusty Baker. Plus, you know what, Dusty Baker's hungry. The guy's never won a World Series. Yeah. So from that perspective, he's going to be motivated.
And I think however you look at it, I think it's pretty fair to say that it's not going to be an easy situation, right? Even if he is effective at being the shield and taking the arrows for the guys, which I think you put it well there. Even if he does that, but they stumble out of the gate. Let's say they're 8-13 to start.
Yeah.
No matter how many arrows you're taking or how well you're defending your guys, what's going on the field with that much talent is what's going to matter most. So if they don't get out of the gate to a great start, a lot of eyes are going to be on him because what's different? Now, a lot of folks will kid around, well, they're not cheating anymore. That's what's different.
Yeah.
But in a very realistic day-to-day sense, from a roster standpoint, he's the difference. So it's going to be a tough go of it for him if they don't get out to a good start.
And I'm not the first one to say this, but it's really interesting going into this season that has there been, and I'll ask you, Hector, has there been in Major League Baseball over the last X number of years a team that will go into a season with as many dynamics at work than the Astros this year? You can't win without people saying you're winning the wrong way. Right. If you lose, it's because you're not
cheating anymore.
You're not cheating anymore.
Right.
And all the you can't go into a restaurant without people saying something snide to you when you said the Astros have to live with that.
Right.
But the best remedy for that, would be to win.
Right. That's true. That is the best remedy. Richard, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
SportsTonight.com.